All right, at the top, there is a warm-up. Now, this warm-up, we're actually going to save this, okay? What we need to worry about is we need to worry about solving for y, okay? So we're taking you through that level 4 today, but it's also kind of helping you with levels 1, 2, and 3 as well. Okay, so if you are good with level 4 or if you're good with solving for y, this shouldn't be too terrible for you today. Go ahead. So before you graph, your equation needs to be solve for y. It needs to look like y equals mx plus b. If it doesn't look like y equals mx plus b, then you're not ready to graph. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to always get rid of this x part first, and you're going to do that by doing the opposite. If it is a positive 2x, then you are going to minus 2x from each side. Can I? Y equals. So there's nothing in front of the y, so I won't have to do anything with that on this one. Now when you write these two down, which one should you write first? X. The x part, the negative 2x. Write that part first, and then write the minus 6. Okay? And then we graph that. Okay, we're going to get lots of practice graphing today, but I'm going to go over this one more time just in case there's anybody who needs a little bit of a refresher, because it is middle of the week. So here we go. Negative 6 is where you start. This is where you begin, because it's y equals mx plus b. So we're going to begin at negative 6. So go on the y-axis to negative 6. And then the m is how you are going to move from there. So from there, I'm going to move negative 2. Does that mean I go left 2?
Yeah. No, go down.
Down 2. So I go down 2. So my slope, because it's negative 2, I'm going to go negative 2 and then right 1. So down 2, that's your rise, right 1. And you can do that again if you want. I do have the rulers out today because we're going to graph really long lines. Yep, on the practice that we're going to do. You'll want to graph it the whole length of the graph. So on the practice that we're going to do today in just a little bit, you'll see the more dots you put, the easier it'll be to use your ruler to draw that line. Okay, let's do this one. X goes first, so I'm going to subtract that 3x.
Ms. Westbrook, if we just put y if we just put y equals 0 over negative 1 and slope negative 3 over 1, will we still get that wrong? Because we didn't technically do y equals that first.
Because you didn't write it out.
Yeah.
On the actual assessment, what it asks you for m and b. It actually doesn't ask you to graph it. So it asks you to put it just to tell them what the slope is and what the y-intercept is. So as long as you can do that from what you have, you don't need to finish it up. So I think I know what you're saying. Yeah. So as long as you can say what it is from what you have, you don't have to rewrite it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so for example on this one, this is negative y. Don't forget to bring down that negative. And then it's negative 3x, and then it's a positive 1. So this is a negative 1 in front of that y. So this one we're going to take one more step and divide every single number by negative 1. So hopefully by now we have practiced this enough that you feel comfortable solving for y. I feel like we've done this quite a bit up to this point. This is why. This is the really important time when you need to solve for y, is because it's so much easier to graph in that slope-intercept form. We're also going to use this when we solve systems of equations. So that's another time where it's going to be nice to already know how to solve for y. This is a skill that we're building up. I understand that it's a level 4 and not everybody wants or needs a level 4, But this is a skill that will become a level 1 skill later on. Okay, so to Deshaun's question over here, we said, do we have to rewrite our answer? Okay, this is what they're going to ask you on the actual assessment on Friday. They're going to say, what is the slope? It's going to have a blank. And then they're going to say, what is the y-intercept? It's going to have a blank. So looking at this, even though I haven't rewritten my final answer, can you look at this and tell me what the slope is? It's -3 over -1, or +3 over +1. So your slope, if you can tell the slope by looking at it, you don't have to rewrite it. Okay? The y-intercept is always 0, and then it's a number. What number is it if it says 1 divided by -1? 1 divided by -1 is -1. So 0, -1. So if you can tell that before, okay, but you might want to just rewrite it just in case so that you know for sure what your slope and your y-intercept is. Okay, so I'm going to start at -1, and you can go down 3, left 1, because that's the negative. So you can go negative like you had in your slope here, or you can go positive. Okay, and I'll connect those dots. Okay, last 2 here, we're just going to do that same process. I don't like that there's not any negatives for us to work with, but that's just how it is. Okay, so there's a positive 8x here, so we're going to subtract 8x. Subtract 8x. So 2y is equal to, put that negative 8x first, and a positive 6. Divide everything by 2. This is the part we need to talk about. What happens if the numbers that you have here and here don't actually divide by 2? What should you do? Like 8 does divide by 2, but what if it didn't? What if this was a 3 and it was 8 divided by 3? What should you do? Should you divide it and get a decimal? No, you leave it as a fraction. What about even this one? What if this one doesn't divide? Same thing, you can just leave it as a fraction. Okay? That's a hint. Hint, hint. Hint, hint. Give me a little hint for Friday. So y equals, this one does divide though. -8 divided by 2 is -4. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then we would graph this. So we would start, so what they're going to ask you for is it's going to say slope blank. Ooh, there's an E on slope. Slope blank. And then it's going to say y-intercept blank. Okay, so you need to write the slope. The slope is technically -4, but I'm going to write it as -4 over 1, like always, so we know for sure that it's a fraction. Okay, do not miss this. This is level 1. You ready? Do not miss this. When you write your y-intercept, you are going to write 0, and then write your number. Don't miss that. 0, 3. That is how we did it last unit. When we took our test, page 4, we had to write that 0 in there. We're going to write that 0 again. So I'm going to start at 3 there and go down 4 over 1. Like I said, today, when you're going to graph this, I would do a couple of dots. Just makes life a little bit easier there. Okay? We good with that? Yeah? Okay, let's do our practice.